Welcome, everybody. When I was at journalism school many, many years ago, we were told that if you have a headline with a question mark at the end, then you should answer that with a no. So is generative AI killing software as a service? Well, I think you'll see that it's actually a huge opportunity from my panelists. That doesn't mean that there are not challenges to do with ethics, replacement of humans by AI, and so forth, so we'll get into those things as well. So let's start with Asper Lecker. Welcome to you. You have a lot of experience with Alpine investors. How does that relate to generative AI?
Yes, so we specialize in vertical software companies. This is a lot of our focus. And from what we see, vertical SaaS is an opportunity to go very deep in an industry and really understand the needs of the customers, the needs of the clients, and build something that's very catered to them. And I'm really excited to be here among more horizontal software companies also and discuss. In my view, AI is actually enhancing the capabilities of the software. It's an opportunity to really take a lot of the things that you can automate and make them more automated and more curated while focusing the effort of the team and the software to really deliver a good solution. I think also in the vertical software, there is so much opportunities for payments, which would be very hard to be replaced with AI. So for me, I do see this as a very big opportunity because you do understand the market well, you do understand the needs of the customer, and now you can use AI to automate this. The risk I see only on my side is on commoditizing certain parts. So there for sure are certain industries that if you're not paying attention or if you don't integrate vertically enough, then your product can get commoditized, and then it's more of a pricing differentiation, and maybe AI can just increase this risk.
Ragy, how are you, you're baking this into your core business. How are you doing that?
Well, we started betting the company and the platform on artificial intelligence about 5 years ago. And it was interesting to see how, with generative AI, AI became mainstream in the last year. I personally believe that it's not a friend or foe question. I think all software is going to be different with AI. And there are some concepts that if any of you, if you're a developer or doing a startup, you really have to start thinking about conversation becoming the new UI. You really have to start thinking about unstructured data as the source of information, not structured data. And you really have to not think about linear workflows and processes, but AI-driven decisions.
So Oliver Steiler, how does AI look like at TeamViewer?
Yeah, it really changes the way we interact with our customers and our customers interact with their customers. So it's really a technique, a tool, a very powerful method to radically simplify their interaction. So if you think about a classical use case in our situation where one person helps another person, be it in the industrial environment or the IT environment, there is always a logic that provides the instructions for that person on the far end. Or there is a logic that provides almost like a cookbook or a guide how to run a certain workflow. And generating these workflows is relatively complicated and cumbersome. But now with AI, these workflows can be generated out of the live interaction. And that's a very powerful tool. It speeds up the whole process of generating new workflows. It makes it more powerful for the users and therefore makes our product more capable for the customers and therefore higher value add.
And of course, there are so many different models out there now of AI. You can get ones through third parties. You don't need in-house models. Can you talk a bit to those models, Ragy, that SaaS is using?
Yeah, so there are many models available, and many of them are actually going to be open source. So we at Sprinklr, we believe that those models are actually going to be, in the long run, a part of the infrastructure. So unless you are planning to start a tech company that is creating AI models, I think most of us are better off thinking about how to use these models. And what we've done is, we have our own. but we have partnerships with OpenAI, we have partnerships with Google, and partnership with Microsoft, and frankly, we'll partner with anyone with the model because we'd rather have you use the best model for a specific purpose. And if it's not ours, that's completely okay, because we want to focus on the application layer, the guardrails, the training, the governance, and making it work for you.
We were talking just before we came on about how GenAI can sometimes generate gibberish, and that we have to make a distinction between generative AI and industrial grade AI. Just a quick point on that, perhaps.
Yeah, absolutely. And many of you know that ChatGPT for last week was just spitting out nonsense for a bit. And that probably is because the training data got messed up. So these models and results are only as good as the data that you train in. So to use AI in industrial and enterprise situations, you really have to make sure that you're training the models on bound data, and you can point back every decision to a specific document that you've trained it on, so you can go correct that document if it needs to be.
Yeah. Any thoughts on that, either of you?
No, I think it's very important, as you say. There's different models out there. I don't think too many people have to invent more models, but using the right one for the right circumstances and training it with the right data, with your own data, and also keeping the findings within yourself as an organization to keep your competitive advantage, not as SaaS company, but as a customer of a SaaS company, is very important. And I think people getting to that knowledge, but ChatGPT just helps to create awareness to everybody.
Yeah. What about that same distinction for you?
I mean, as I hear you both speaking, I'm thinking that for me, GenAI gives a very nice second iteration of something. Like if you always use it as a first, maybe the data or the information is so generic, and you really need to take this and train this, and there is a risk to really rely on this. But if you actually provide a little bit of guidance, ensure that the material and the information that's getting in, it's right, I think it's an amazing iteration of your first draft. So, and I think of it also as we look into managing the business also from the management side, that is an incredible opportunity as well, because you give a guidance, and then that guidance, I think, with the right information can actually be developed into a very nice model and template and framework.
So let's move on to these ethical dimensions that I mentioned at the start. A lot of concerns about humans being replaced. But Oliver, you've argued that actually human workers won't be replaced, and in fact that their intelligence is going to be augmented. What do you mean by that?
I think it's almost with any new technology. I think you see a certain phase where there's a lot of hype, and then people start to really apply it. And you will, in my view, rationalize away simple tasks. I mean, that's inevitable. It happened in every technology advancement, and that's a good thing, because you can focus people on their real task. You have better information available in real time to them. You can guide them better. You can be much more context sensitive. So who is that person? Who is that employee? How long has he or she been on board? How well trained? And then correct errors and make information available. I think that's incredibly powerful. But you have to up-level the tasks that you're performing to make that all relevant, right? So as a company, you need to leverage that functionality to perform higher value-add tasks, and then you can help your people do so. If you stay in the lower value bucket, you will be rationalized away, not as a person, but also as a company at some point.
Ragy, what about you? So on this question of of replacement of workers, I mean, you're talking about an increase in front office productivity of 20 to 40% over the next 5 years. Is that not going to come at a human cost at some level?
Absolutely. I do think we're going to lose a lot of jobs, frankly, but that's going to be replaced by a lot of new jobs. It's just like manufacturing. When we had people manufacturing stuff, I would manufacture, let's say, 1,000 widgets, and when you have factories, I probably can manufacture 50,000, but those 100 people can now do quality checks and packaging and a lot of other things that isn't manufacturing. So I think you're going to create a lot of jobs. Frankly, there's so much inefficiency And so much, the bar is so low in customer-facing functions like contact centers and marketing that productivity improvements can be offset by adding a lot more jobs that improve the quality of experiences. You can have customer service work 24/7 instead of 9 to 5, for example.
Yeah, but are you implying that the workers that are not going to be needed for that particular function, that they'll be retrained to do these other things, or what?
Ironically, I think that there's a possibility that human beings will be doing less intelligent jobs. Because frankly, the AI can do more complex jobs, but someone needs to monitor what the AI systems are doing, so that's probably not a very high IQ job profile. But the jobs are going to change, that's for sure, and a lot of what you're doing now won't be what human beings are going to be doing 5 years from now.
So Asper, what does a responsible or ethical AI policy look like at your company?
I mean, there is, of course, a lot of responsibility coming, and when you have things being automatically generated, you do not know, and you have to give a guidance. And I think that also ties back to the previous point with like task changing. I don't think there is, it's not right to let it be fully automated and not give a lot of guidance. There's a lot of opportunity to like misuse information and data and start building based on certain biases that they exist today because of historical data and historical information. And I think this is a great opportunity for people to come in and add the right direction to the model to then also help us, even for our own biases. We are very unconscious of sometimes how we make decisions, and I think there is a way to be a lot more ethical, but there is not enough of historical information to rely on. So it's a tricky point because I don't think anyone knows where exactly the right answer lies.
Oliver, would you agree actually with what Ragy was saying before about the irony of humans doing less intelligent jobs? And doesn't that have big social implications and political ones?
Yeah, I think honestly, I think the question is a good question, but I sometimes feel if you look at what's happening in the world currently, that we are not, in most countries, we are not in a situation where you have enough workers and where you feel you would be running a big risk if you need less, because we have shortage of labor almost everywhere, even in countries where traditionally labor costs have been low, they're still now much higher. So we see advanced technologies being deployed everywhere around the world, even with augmented reality for workers, for inspection purposes and the like. So it's coming. So I think the question is maybe less relevant than it was 10 years ago after COVID. So I think in many jobs, in many industries, it will be a relief if you can reduce. So now, this time, though, it hits knowledge workers, maybe, as to your point, right? It's physical tasks are hard to do for an AI, but simple knowledge worker tasks are not. But that's also where the war for talent has been very fierce. So maybe that's helpful also for the whole industry.
Right. Are you implying then that there could be more migrant labor, perhaps, for some of these jobs? Is that where you're getting to?
Yeah, I mean, I think it will change the different industries, and it will be a relief in some industries to focus and refocus on quality jobs, and I think that's important also.
Quality jobs, yeah.
I also think that there is a limit on the capacity each company has today, and if you take into consideration a software company, how many things you could be doing for your customers. I think it also depends on how much capacity you have on the team and how big the team is. It's a capacity of how much budget you have and how much revenue to make. So for me, I also see this as an opportunity that you now can automate a big part of the work and then use the exact same capacity in the people to do all these things you didn't have time or could never be a priority. So I see this also as a whole new way of operating that will educate the clients more, create more revenue opportunities. So definitely needs a lot more education, but also I think there is so much untapped potential that we never had capacity to deal with.
So we're almost out of time, but just a very quick point from all three of you on where you see investments this year, because obviously there was such a big growth in AI, in SaaS companies launching AI products last year. What are the main opportunities you see in 2024? Just briefly, Ragy first.
We aren't even scratching the surface of what AI is going to do. especially in software. There's a lot of hype, there's a lot of excitement, but less than 20% of companies are actually doing something meaningful today. And that number is predicted to be 54% by the end of the year. So I expect to see a lot of activity in the AI space, but practical AI, where AI is actually leading to a better outcome with software. And hopefully this year we'll come out of the hype mode into actually putting it to work.
Aspa?
I would stick to the vertical software, and I think there's a lot of industries that have big amount of data, unstructured data, and things have been many manual for so many years, and it was impossible to put all of this into an app. And I think AI gives the opportunity now to build on all this information you have and make something out of it. So that would, I think, would revolutionize and automate a lot of the more traditional industries.
Oliver, your opportunities
so
our
focus, I think, will be threefold. One is clearly, produce code more efficiently ourselves. Code generation is an important one, and I think even there we're just at the beginning, in my view. The next step is then IT workflows, so people helping people in the IT environment or managing IT equipment, and go from scripting to code generation, script generation. But what we will focus on a lot is also moving AI and workflows more into the industrial world, so into the offline world. So everything is easy in the cloud and in the office, and where you have perfect data and perfect connectivity. But when you go to operations in large enterprises, it becomes difficult, data less available, more context sensitive, and that's something where we'll double down as well, because that's a big market for us as well.
All right, well, I think that's a good place to wrap, because we only have a minute left. So thank you to all of you for listening, and thanks to the three panelists.
Thank you.
Thank you.